The debate stage was cold, too cold. Bright lights beamed down on the panelists, but there was no warmth in the air, only tension. The nation was watching. It was a special live broadcast titled America at the Crossroads, Policy, Race Power. The audience sat stiff, phones in hand, millions streaming online. Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General, sat upright, sharp-eyed, and waiting. Next to her, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, steady, calm, visibly composed. Halfway through the segment on education reform, the air snapped. Bondi leaned forward, her voice harsh. This is exactly the problem. People like Jasmine, completely unqualified, uninformed, and frankly a total idiot, are dragging our country into chaos. Gasps echoed, a few stunned coughs. Phones lit up across the room. The moderator blinked, speechless. Cameras stayed locked in. But Jasmine didn't move, didn't blink. She took a slow breath. Her fingers tightened ever so slightly, and she looked at Bondi, not with rage, but with something deeper, something quieter. The storm had arrived, and Jasmine Crockett was ready. Silence. Thick. Unsettling. The kind that wraps itself around your chest. Pam Bondi folded her arms, smug. Viewers watching at home leaned closer to their screens. Twitter blew up. Did Bondi just call her an idiot on live TV? Crockett's face right now. Wow. Someone tell me she's going to respond. Jasmine adjusted the microphone, then finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. Congress isn't a place for insults, Pam. It's a place for facts. Let me offer you some. Her words landed like calm thunder. No shouting, no finger pointing, just truth. She walked through statistics. She reminded Bondi of her own controversies, not by calling her out, but by quoting her, word for word, from past speeches. She exposed policy contradictions as calmly, sharply. You say I stir division, but I work with Republicans and Democrats every day to bring clean water to children in Texas. You say I'm unqualified, yet I've defended more civil rights in court than you ever acknowledged in your own state. The studio remained frozen. Bondi stared, blinking, then looking away. And in that moment, it was clear. The room had shifted. But no one, not even Jasmine, could predict how deep that shift would go. The cameras cut to commercial. But behind the scenes, the weight was heavy. Jasmine stepped into the green room, alone. She didn't cry, not yet. She just sat, her hands folded, her heart pounding beneath her blazer. Across the room, a young makeup artist whispered, "You handled that like a queen." Jasmine nodded, but her eyes were glassy. She remembered her mother's words. When they call you names, don't become what they call you. Become more than what they can understand. Her phone buzzed. Texts flooded in. From her pastor. Proud doesn't even begin to cover it. From a student she mentored. You just showed me how to fight without hate. From her little sister. Please come home soon. Mama's crying. But Jasmine was still. Not because she was numb, but because something inside her was breaking and rebuilding at the same time. Outside, Bondi paced in frustration, clearly caught off guard. Inside, Jasmine Crockett sat alone, holding a truth too big for words. She didn't win with rage. She won with restraint. And in that quiet moment, she made history without even trying. Later that night, Jasmine sat in her hotel room, shoes off, hair undone, face still glowing from the stage lights. She hadn't spoken to anyone directly since the broadcast, not even her staff. But then her phone rang. It was her mother. "Baby?" Jasmine's voice cracked. "Mama." There was silence, then a soft sob on the other end. "I saw what she said. I saw your face. You didn't flinch." Jasmine closed her eyes. Her mother's voice was strong, but trembling. They've always tried to silence us, tried to shame us. But what you did tonight, you stood tall, not just for yourself, but for every little girl who's ever been told she wasn't enough. Tears finally slipped down Jasmine's cheek. I didn't want to break down on TV, she whispered. You didn't, her mother replied. You broke through. Jasmine didn't speak. She didn't have to. Her mother's strength had carried her for decades, through law school, courtrooms, Congress. And tonight, across time zones and television sets, that strength had held her again. Even through pain, even through insult. Jasmine Crockett was not just fighting for policy. She was fighting for legacy. The next morning, Jasmine woke to thousands of new notifications. Hashtags like Crockett clap back and Dignity under fire sign were trending. But buried beneath the noise, one message stood out. It came from a woman in Nebraska. It read, Dear Congresswoman Crockett, I've never voted Democrat. I didn't even know your name before last night. But when I watched that woman call you an idiot, and then watched you respond with grace, I sat on my living room floor and cried. My daughter is biracial. She's 11. She watched you with me. She turned to me and said, Mommy, she's brave like you. Thank you for showing her what strength looks like. Sincerely, a mother who just changed her mind. Jasmine held the phone to her chest. She didn't know this woman, but the pain and the healing was familiar. The power of public service, she realized, wasn't just in laws passed. It was in lives touched. That night, a stranger's words mattered more than headlines. And Jasmine knew she had done more than just respond to an insult. She had reached a child's heart, without even trying. Pam Bondi sat alone in her dressing room. Her team had left quickly, avoiding questions from reporters. She watched the clip on repeat. Her own voice echoed. Total idiot. She hadn't expected the backlash. She thought she'd look tough, direct. Instead, the internet had turned, fast. Commentators, even conservative ones, called the remark unnecessary, personal, ugly. She sipped her coffee, eyes heavy. Her phone buzzed with texts, some supportive, some brutal. One from a former colleague simply read, You lost the crowd. Bondi frowned. She had been on dozens of debate stages, but this one cut deeper. It wasn't just about losing an argument. It was about losing control of the narrative. And Jasmine? She hadn't insulted back, hadn't rolled her eyes or raised her voice. She had done something worse. She had made Bondi look small, not with force, but with integrity. And there's no recovering from that. Pam Bondi realized too late. You can't win a fight against someone who refuses to hate you back. Late evening. Jasmine sat by the window of her office, city lights flickering outside. She had cleared most interviews for the day, not out of pride, but exhaustion. Her assistant, Kayla, knocked gently. Something came for you, from your old law firm. A plain envelope. No return address. Just her name in clean handwriting. Inside was a letter from Mr. Harold Green, her former mentor and the first lawyer who ever gave her a shot fresh out of law school. Jasmine, you don't know this, but I watched last night's debate from a hospital bed. I've got little time left and even less strength, but I had to tell you. That girl who used to eat lunch at her desk and work weekends, she's still there. I saw her last night. Calm, fierce, unshakable. Don't let their cruelty turn your light bitter. The way you spoke, that was the law at its best. That was you at your best. Make this moment count. Don't just survive it, grow from it. Love, H. Jasmine wiped her tears slowly, letter trembling in her hands. Even now, her past was pushing her forward. By the third day, the internet had become a battlefield. Clips of Jasmine's composed response went viral. Edited montages painted her as a national hero. Teenagers made TikToks lip-syncing her speech. But then came the wave of hate. Dark, faceless accounts flooded her pages with venom. She's playing victim. Angry black woman agenda. Just another race hustler. Her team tried to filter them, delete, report, but the poison poured in faster than they could contain it. One particularly cruel post showed a photoshopped image of Jasmine behind bars with the caption, "Send her back to the streets." Jasmine stared at it for a long time. Not angry, but deeply wounded. She didn't tell her staff. She didn't post about it. Instead, she scrolled to a picture on her desk, her father's old graduation photo from Howard. He had once told her, "When you carry truth, baby girl, expect bullets. Just don't carry them back." So she prayed, and then she wrote something down in her journal. "I will not shrink, not for them, not today." The storm was here, but Jasmine wasn't folding. Friday morning, a scheduled education roundtable. Jasmine arrived in sunglasses despite the clouds. As she entered, a protester shouted, "Hey, idiot! Debate me now!" Security moved fast. Jasmine didn't flinch, but inside, her heart was unraveling. She walked into the building, smiled for the cameras, and took her seat beside community leaders, teachers, single moms, immigrant parents. They all stood when she entered. Applause broke out. A teacher from East Dallas hugged her tightly. "You don't know what you gave our girls that night." Jasmine smiled again, but her eyes watered. Then, during the QA, a small hand raised from the back. A girl, no more than 12. Braided hair, pink notebook. "Congresswoman Crockett," she said nervously, "do they call you names because they're scared of you?" The room stilled. Jasmine's throat tightened. She walked to the girl, knelt beside her, and whispered into the mic. "They call me names because they don't know my name, but I promise you, I know yours, and your voice matters more than their hate ever will." The girl cried. So did half the room, and in that moment, so did Jasmine. For the first time since the debate, she finally let the tears fall. That night, Jasmine returned to her childhood neighborhood in South Dallas. No cameras, no staff, just her, a hoodie, and memories she hadn't touched in years. She walked past the cracked pavement of her old elementary school. A rusted swing still hung, creaking gently in the wind. This was where she'd first been called. Too loud, too dark, too much. Where at age 9, a teacher once told her she was bright, but not leadership material. She remembered sitting alone on that swing, whispering to herself, "One day they'll hear me." And last week, they did. Jasmine sat down on the swing, now too small for her frame. She smiled through tears, the weight of that little girl still living inside her. She pulled out her phone, opened the voice recorder, and spoke. "To every kid who's ever been underestimated, I see you. You matter, and they're wrong about you." A whisper into the dark. But to Jasmine, it was everything. Because sometimes the fight you win isn't against your enemies. It's against the voices in your past. And that night, the swing stopped creaking. The silence felt like peace. Tuesday, Capitol Hill. A budget review hearing. Jasmine sat reviewing notes when her aide burst in, eyes wide. "Pam Bondi is here." Jasmine looked up. "She's not on this committee. She asked for 5 minutes. She brought documents." The room buzzed. Cameras shifted. Bondi entered confidently, holding a folder. "Before we continue," she said, "I'd like to submit proof that Congresswoman Crockett has misused campaign funds for personal travel." Gasps. Jasmine froze. Her staff scrambled. The chair allowed her to respond. With trembling hands, Jasmine stood. Those travel receipts are public, each one cleared by the House Ethics Committee. My mother's surgery. I flew home between votes. My own dime. My own time. She held up her own folder, calm but visibly shaken. Then she said softly, "If you wanted to hurt me, Pam, you should have aimed at my heart, not my integrity. You'd have missed either way." The room stilled again. Bondi's smirk faded. Jasmine didn't yell. She just stared, straight through her, because this time it wasn't about winning. It was about surviving, with her name intact. Back in her office, Jasmine collapsed into her chair, alone again, exhausted. She opened her desk drawer and found the small note her dad had written her on her first day in Congress. "They will try to break you, but if your voice stays honest, your name will survive storms." She whispered the words to herself. Then her phone buzzed. A voicemail. She played it. "Congresswoman Crockett, my name is Andre. I'm 17. I wanted to hurt myself last year, but I saw you on the news. You looked like me. You sounded like someone who made it. I just wanted to say, thank you for staying strong. You saved me." Jasmine covered her mouth and wept. This wasn't about policy anymore. This was about purpose and a promise. To never shrink, to never bow, to be more than a politician, to be a light. Because somewhere, in a quiet room, another kid was watching, and their survival might just depend on hers. 2 days later, the headlines were brutal. Ethics Committee to review claims against Reppers Jasmine Crockett. Is Crockett in trouble after viral moment? Pam Bondi's stunt had worked, not legally, but politically. Doubt had been planted. The worst came from inside. A fellow Democrat, one Jasmine trusted, had even helped campaign for, issued a carefully worded statement. If the allegations are true, it would be deeply disappointing. We must hold everyone accountable. Jasmine stared at the screen, stunned. He didn't even call. She felt her chest tighten, not from guilt. She knew she was clean, but from the realization. Even allies disappear when things get hard. Her staff walked on eggshells. Her phone rang nonstop. But all Jasmine wanted was silence. She locked her office door and curled up on the couch. No speeches, no armor, just a woman, tired, bruised, alone. She whispered, almost broken, "God, I've done everything right. Why does it still feel like I'm losing?" But God was quiet that night, and so Jasmine lay in the dark, waiting for a voice that might never come. The next morning, a package arrived. No name, no note. Inside, a cassette tape and a USB converter. Confused, Jasmine plugged it in. Static. Then a voice, old, deep, familiar. Her father. "If you're hearing this, baby girl, it means you need me. I hope I'm wrong. But I know this world, and I know what it does to women like you. They will lie. They will corner you. They'll smile to your face and stab your back. But don't let their fear of your power become your shame. You were born to be more than liked. You were born to stand, even if your knees shake. Don't you forget who you are." She paused the recording, tears streaming, the sound of his voice. It brought her to her knees. Her father had died 3 years ago, a quiet man, full of fire. He had always believed in her, even when she didn't. She hit play again. "You are not theirs to destroy. You are mine, my child, my legacy. So get up, Jasmine, and finish what you started." She clutched the tape to her chest and sobbed, deep, silent sobs. He was gone. But somehow he knew this moment would come, and he gave her the strength to rise. That evening, Jasmine attended a town hall she almost canceled. It was pouring. Cameras lined the edges. Protesters still circled the building. But inside, the room was packed, standing room only. She walked on stage, hair damp, no makeup, no slogans, no spin, just Jasmine. She didn't read from a script. She didn't dodge the headlines. She looked into the crowd and said, "I've been called everything this week. A liar, a fraud, an idiot. I've been attacked, doubted, even by people I love. But I'm still here." She paused. Her voice shook, then steadied. "You know why? Because I remember who I am and who I'm not." Applause. Then a woman stood up, an elderly black woman with a cane. She said, "I watched you with my grandbaby." She said, "Grandma, is that a superhero?" Jasmine's lip trembled. The room clapped, but she didn't smile. She cried, openly, for the first time in public, not from weakness, but because she finally knew her dignity wasn't just survival, it was her power. And that night, the rain outside felt like baptism. A week passed, then two. The investigation loomed over everything. News panels dissected every inch of her spending history. Some of her colleagues stopped returning calls. Even her favorite coffee shop barista looked at her differently. Then, on a Monday morning, her chief of staff walked into her office holding a manila envelope, hands trembling. "It's the verdict." Jasmine stood still, heart pounding. She opened it slowly, read it once, then again. No evidence of wrongdoing. All travel and expenses deemed appropriate. Case dismissed. She said nothing, just exhaled, a deep, long, soul-shaking breath. But it wasn't relief, it was release. For days, they had tried to unmake her, tried to twist dignity into deceit. But the truth had survived. Pam Bondi declined interviews. A quiet retraction was posted, barely noticed. No apology, no cameras. But Jasmine didn't care, because she knew what was coming next. Something bigger than proof. A reckoning. She would no longer defend her worth. She would declare it. Out loud, in front of the world. And this time, they were going to listen. 3 days later, Jasmine Crockett walked onto the House floor. The chamber was full. Reporters crowded the balconies. She adjusted the mic. Her voice was calm, eyes focused. "Madam Speaker, I rise today not in defense of myself, but in defense of every girl who's ever been told to sit down, shut up, or shrink herself to fit inside someone else's box." Silence. Everyone leaned in. She continued, voice rising. "I've been called names I won't repeat here. I've been lied about, laughed at, even investigated for being too present, too loud, too black. But I'm still here, and I'm done, asking for permission to be." Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "This system wasn't built for women like me to survive in. But I'm not here to survive it. I'm here to change it." Then she paused, pulled out a folded paper. "This is my father's last letter to me. He said, 'Don't carry bullets back, carry truth.'" She held it up. Her hand shook. "So here it is. You can come for my seat. You can come for my name. But you will not come for my soul." A single clap broke out, then another, then the entire chamber, standing, applauding, some with tears. Even her loudest critics didn't speak. Because when truth stands tall, lies kneel. That night, Jasmine returned home to Dallas. No security, no suit, just jeans and a hoodie. She walked into her mother's living room. Her mom sat quietly, holding a remote. The news replayed her speech. "You made your daddy proud," she said, voice soft. "And me too." Jasmine sat beside her, laid her head on her mother's shoulder. "I just didn't want to become what they said I was." "You didn't," her mom whispered. "You became something bigger." Outside, fireworks lit the night sky. A local church had organized a vigil, not in protest, but in gratitude. Kids held candles. Parents held each other. One little girl stood near the front, wearing a red blazer and glasses, mimicking Jasmine's debate pose. "I'm going to be like her one day," she said. She already was, because Jasmine Crockett had done something far greater than clap back. She had created space. Space for dignity. Space for strength. Space for truth to walk with its head held high. And in the firelight of a shaken nation, a legacy had been born, not from power, but from restraint. If this story moved you to tears, made you think deeper, or reminded you of your own strength, then don't leave without making a difference. Drop a comment. Tell us the moment that broke your heart or made it whole again. Like this video. It helps this story reach others who need it right now. Subscribe for more powerful, emotional, and truthful stories that show dignity always wins. And remember, you are not what they call you. You are what you choose to become. Be like Jasmine.